Welcome. Hi guys, welcome to this week's Writing Community Chat Show. It is Wednesday, and yes, that was a very quick introduction, Chris. I know you're laughing.
You barely got the welcome out.
I was excited to get going. But hello to you. And we have made it halfway through the week, which is always a good thing. You know, we're still all working, whether we're working from home or in the office or wherever you work. So it's nice to get to this point of the week. But Chris, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I started today really well because the first thing I saw today on Twitter was the man who accidentally made himself a cat.
Okay.
Have you not seen this?
No.
Oh, Chris, you've got to see this video. He's in a Zoom meeting in a trial as a lawyer, and there's a filter, and he's presented as a cat.
No.
And it is so funny. It set my day off on the right tone. It was brilliant.
Oh, I will absolutely be looking into that.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's hilarious.
I did hear a rumor, but I'm not sure if this is true. Someone actually said that's the best thing trending on Twitter. That there's a new COVID swab that happens from a different angle of your body. Is that a true thing?
Nice. I don't know. I think that sounds more like a rumor. But
well,
there's two great Zoom things. If you haven't seen it, there's a parish church one as well, which is just brilliant. I'll tweet them later. I'm sure everyone's already seen them, but they're so funny. The accidents that are happening on Zoom at the minute, they're just brilliant.
Well, let's try and keep this professional as ever. So, yeah, good luck with that. Okay, so let's get our Be a Token book promotion done this week because, you know, the last few weeks you've been accusing me of being too excited and skipping ahead. So I'm making sure that we get this done today. And it's actually someone that's been on the show way back in season 1 and is someone we consider one of our family in the community. So today's Be a Token book promotion is S.P. O'Farrell. Steve to everyone. His book Simone Lefray and the Chocolatier's Ball has got 4.8 out of 5 ratings, 5 stars on Amazon after 69 reviews, which is fantastic on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of them's mine. I've read it. It's a great book. You'll enjoy it as an adult, but it is sort of like not a child's book, a sort of that middle ground, I'd say. 7 upwards will probably really enjoy it. It's a great book.
Yeah. So it's available on Kindle as a paperback and as a hardback, and it's won plenty of awards. And it's a children's spy book, technically, like Chris said, aged around 10 to 12 years old. As a young spy, Simone Lefray is as observant as she is clever. She needs to summon all of her wits and talents to unravel not one, but 2 mysteries, both of which culminate in an exciting finale, which is one of the reviews on there. So it sounds a fantastic book. It is by all the reviews and all the awards it's won. And Chris there says himself that it's fantastic. So please check that out and support the authors that support the show because they keep this going and make this all possible. So thank you for sponsoring the show.
Yeah, and I'm excited particularly about that book because I know Steve's working on a sequel. So, it's a series of books, so you can invest your time into that as well.
Very nice. Yeah. So today's guest, someone that inspired me.
Do we not have a photo?
Oh, I can't help it. I can't help it.
It's the best bit.
There you go. The photos.
There we go. And that is a great cover. Like Simone is there in the little window. I know you can't see it from the thumbnail, but she's in the city of Paris. Beautiful cover. Really nice on paperback as well. I should have dug it out actually because I've got a copy of it somewhere.
Excellent. Yep. So today's guest is someone that very much inspired me when I was writing my first book deep in this series. When I was trying to figure things out, this is where this show came from, was the help I had from the writing community. But this guest on YouTube was just as big as a help on the YouTube side of things to show me in the right direction whether it was editing or publishing or who to go with self-published. And it was a massive, massive help. So I'm very excited to get this guest on because for a lot of the new authors watching this, if you haven't discovered this person, then you're in for a treat because it will help you. His channel certainly will, and he's an author, he's a YouTuber and a podcaster as well, so there's plenty we can talk about. So let's get the guest on. Today's guest is Dale Roberts. Hello, Dale.
What's up, guys? I was hoping that I could get, I'm sitting there thinking in my head, I was like, I've got to find some way that I can load up like a cat filter on right now. Because I would have just completely jack with you and everybody else having the cat filter come out. I didn't hear about the cat lawyer, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really funny. I definitely recommend going and watching that.
I would have absolutely loved for you to have turned up in a cat filter as well.
Damn, if only I knew how to do it, I would have done it. I do have a clown wig somewhere here, but I would have had to got up, go in and grab it. You guys could see me inside the green room, for crying out loud. So he probably like, we know what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chris Hooley actually dressed up as the It character on a Halloween special, and that was a great outfit.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Nice. Yeah. Did you make some kids cry?
I actually couldn't go near my 2-year-old son for the whole of the night as I was dressed up like that. So, but yeah, I was tempted to go out. I said to the missus, I've got to go like trick-or-treating in this. And she was like, no, you can't. It was too scary. It was
a great costume. And was your Grinch costume in Christmas. Anyway, Dale, fantastic to have you on, really is. And as I mentioned, actually a big fan of yours, subscribed to your channel many moons ago. So it's great to have you and share kind of the knowledge of what you have. If people haven't discovered, it's fantastic to get you on. So first of all, how are you doing? Where are you coming from? And we just mentioned the weather, but it's very cold everywhere. Where is it that you're stationed right now?
First of all, I'm phenomenal, and I am stationed right now currently in Columbus, Ohio, here in the United States. It is below freezing, so that means that I do not go outside. I said something a little less family friendly before we went live. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm used to it. We've lived here in Ohio for a long time. We are planning on relocating to somewhere warmer like Florida or Vegas. I'm leaning towards Vegas, but the wife is more going towards Florida. But either way, I'm happy because it'll be warmer and less snow.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So can we like to jump straight in the deep end, I guess.
Let's do it.
And we talk about why someone is doing what they're doing. And for you, as someone who's an author, someone who's a YouTuber and a podcaster and many other things, let's go way back. What was the first thing that you sort of went into, and what was the reasons behind that?
Long story short, because I know I can go long on this particular one. And it's so funny. I think my wife can say this story, and so can my assistant. They've heard it so many stinking times. So I'm going to give you guys the abridged version. I was working in the healthcare industry. About 20 years in the healthcare industry as an activities director. It was a fantastic job. I was paid pretty well for playing with senior citizens. Like literally, I'd take them out to movies, dinner, play bingo, things like that. It was an awesome job. At one point or another, the corporate wellness coach challenged me to write a book because she was like, "You're so passionate about health and fitness. Why don't you write a book about it?" And I was like, "I will. I will." Took me about a year to do it. And so then it crossed my mind, I want to go ahead and publish this manuscript. And my only thought was, let me just go buy a pallet full of books, because that's what I thought was only available to me. Well, when I went to a local offset printer and asked them how much it was going to run, it was like $1,200. And I come back to my wife and I was like, guess what? It's only going to be $1,200. And she was like, yeah, where are you going to get that money again? And I was just kind of like, from yeah. And I'm just, so I had to look for alternatives. And that's when I stumbled over CreateSpace. And you fast forward, as soon as I did finally launch that, I got like $23 and some odd cents. And I was like, burn the boats, baby. Let's do this. And I put in my 30-day notice with my employer and left a perfectly good job to pursue this whole career full-time as an author. And the first 2 years sucked. It sucked, but it started to level out and become better.
Yeah. So it must have been quite did you feel like a risky move at that time to give up your career at the time as what was stable income and take the leap of faith in writing?
At the time, I believe I was very ego driven, in that I thought, if I could accomplish this much with putting this little bit of attention into it, imagine what I could do if I did this full time. Little did I know that it was going to require a lot of time, attention, and energy. Thankfully, I had, some savings I could dip into, retirement account I could dip into, some credit cards I could dip into. So I really put myself into some massive debt during that first couple of years and doing it. But is it a risky move? I'm going to tell everybody, yes, that is. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have stayed in my job just a little longer. So I wasn't so stressed out and having to rely on ramen noodles and frozen vegetables as every meal of the day. Does get kind of old. You have a breakfast. Oh, what are we having for lunch today? Oh, ramen noodles and frozen vegetables. What are we having for tonight? Well, we're going to be having some, ramen noodles and frozen vegetables. And, if I had done it again, and anytime someone comes and asks me, they're like, they hear about my story. They're like, I'm just sick of my job. I've got to get out. I'm going to go full time as an author. And I'm like, don't. Yeah. Like, don't do it. Like, I'm telling you, if you have some cushion, you have something to rely on, that's great. The beauty of this was, I love my job. The last job I was in, it was fantastic. The president of the company flew in to specifically speak to me. And he kind of gave me an out. So there was still that little like, hey, if I needed to get back in, I could get back in. He came and he said to me, hey, if things don't work out, I want you to come back to me first thing. And I was like, whoa, the president of the company just said this to me. And I'm like, cool. But thankfully, other than saying hi to him every once in a blue moon on LinkedIn, I haven't had to go back to that day job. It's only gotten better and better and better the further out I've been from it.
It is one of those things that as a self-published author, you kind of don't realize the cost of things, the editing, the cover design, and all of these things that rack
it's
up.
It's brutal, man. Yeah, and one could make the argument that you could do this whole thing for free. You could make the argument, but I'm going to tell you this, that it's not a good idea. No matter how much you might think that your mom's a great editor or that your cousin's best friend's uncle's sister does great like art, 9 times out of 10, in fact 99.999% of the time, it isn't. You're going to need to invest into your author career, otherwise it's going to show and you're going to suffer for it.
It does indeed. And I'm someone who can speak from personal experience, who's done this and did it as free, as someone who struggled with the cash at the time. And I've got great reviews. I've got a decent amount of reviews, but there are the negative reviews that I have had are down to grammar, editing issues. And the cover I look back at now, I wish I had done differently. So you can do it, as you said. So there are these things and, you rush into it. So there's a compromise, and the compromise is looking back and wishing perhaps you'd done it a different way, even if it did mean waiting a year or 2 years to do it. So I agree completely with that.
So Dale, my question is, people are out there, they're probably watching this now, they're thinking, I've got this dream, I've got this manuscript, I'm ready to go. How much is too much to spend, in your opinion? Because some people could get carried away with, the dream of, if they've got a bit of that cushion that you talked about, and, they're thinking, I'm going to go all in, like Dale did, I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. What would your advice be to those people?
You'll only know what's going to be good for you. Because there's no one size fits all when it comes to self-publishing. I can't say to anybody like, you should be done in the next 30 days, or you should be done in the next 5 years. Everybody's traveling their own path. And this is why I always try to show various options. There's a good reason why I have nearly 600 videos over on my YouTube channel, shameless plug here, that I want to present as much information to people as they possibly can so they can pick and choose what's going to work for them. So, I mean, good, for instance, good friend of mine, Mark Brownless, he's actually based over UK. Mark is not the type of person to hammer out a manuscript like that. He is the type of person that's very calculated. He's very cerebral. He's got to take his time. He's got to write it out. He's got to get it to the editor. Then he's got to take his time going over all the fixes and rewriting and such. Whereas if you look at someone like, say, for instance, a good friend of mine, Kevin McGuire, based out of the Ukraine, he's the type of guy, he can get his manuscript fired off 30 days. Boom. He's quick. The one thing I'm just going to say, and no one should take liberties on this particular phrase, because you got to find that balance. It's done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Now, that's not to say you should be like putting out hammer garbage and be like, hey, look at my stuff. If your mom won't hang up your work on her fridge, okay, or put it on her coffee table in the instances of books, chances are pretty likely you probably missed the mark. But you'll know if something's hammered garbage or not, if it's complete trash. So I hate to dodge the question, Chris, that, the best way I can answer is you just got to know in your gut, in your heart, in your intuition's going to tell you, I'm ready. Let's do this. So if it takes you 5 years, so be it. Don't let anybody make you feel ashamed of that. If it takes you 5 days, fantastic. Go for it.
So what was it that drove you into the fitness world of books anyway? Was there a real passion for the fitness as you were growing up?
No, actually, I was the farthest thing from being the pinnacle of health and fitness. I got hooked in pro wrestling in 1999. My brother and I just one day were flipping through the channels and never liked it. I always was like, they use the F word, when I was growing up. It's fake. And I was led to believe like this is just it's stupid, it's baloney, that type of thing. But for whatever reason, that specific day, we got hooked. And for some reason, I was just like, I saw these guys that were just completely jacked to the gills. And I was like, I want to be like that. Now, mind you, I'm in my 20s then. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I really just became obsessed with health and fitness. Yeah. So that's really what led me to that path of really wanting to do health and fitness. And I did personal training for a cup of coffee, about 4.5 years. And that was fantastic work. So the knowledge I had, I was able to just implement in my own life. And that's where the wellness coach kind of came into play, where she's just like, she kept trying to challenge me on all these different types of things. And she found she couldn't crack me until she was like, I'm going to challenge him to write a book. And of course I was like, hold my beer.
So you stepping into the world of writing your books then, almost as a challenge. How was your process then, and how is that compared to now? Has it changed drastically?
Way different, different. Back then, I just I was more of a pantser in that I just was like, I'm going to write a book. And I just started writing and 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 writing. And it was a fun experience, but I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. Now, these days, I'm the type of person that will mainly lean on plotting, that I will literally sit down, think about what it is I'm going to write, who is the reader I'm writing it for, and what's the journey I'm going to take them through. Because a lot of people see that I do nonfiction, but I also do write fiction. Just usually put it out underneath a pen name. So with nonfiction and fiction, I just generally do the same thing. Nonfiction's easier because you can just ask questions and give answers. Whereas with fiction, you got to kind of paint a better picture. You got to tell a good story. My years of working in the professional wrestling business lent the ability to storytell was how I was able to bring that over to fiction and get it to where I can kind of understand, okay, the big beginning, the middle, and the end, and then try to fill that stuff in there and keep readers hooked from all the way from beginning to that end and make it worthwhile. So
it's a great transition between fiction and nonfiction and being able to figure those both out because they're very different. But then, so you were doing these, and what point did YouTube become something that was a real focus of yours? And that is, you've grown multiple channels on YouTube. Yeah. So where did this start?
I take it you've been paying attention to me, huh? YouTube, the funny thing is I got interviewed on a couple of larger YouTube channels for self-publishing back in 2016. It was January. And a lot of their viewers track me down via like Facebook Messenger, Twitter DMs, email, and I was getting inundated with a lot of questions because they were like, hey, we saw that you had some great success. You're on the show. So clearly you know what you're talking about. I'm the type of person I can't stand saying no or not providing somebody with something. So my thought was, okay, here's a good means to an end. Why don't I just shoot a video? Because then I can just from now on be like, hey, I did a video over here. Little did I know that after about a few months of just becoming frustrated with doing YouTube, that I was like, this should be taking off. I should be the next PewDiePie. I really legitimately thought that way. And any rates, I became obsessed with it. Then as the further I got into YouTube, the more I started to draw parallels between self-publishing as an author and self-publishing as a video content creator over on YouTube. And when I started to draw those patterns and understand that parallel between each one of them, became easier and easier for me. And so then like the very first year, I got 1,500 subscribers. After that first year, I think it was up to like 5,000 subscribers, and it incrementally went up. And I think now we just passed 45,000 subscribers more recently. Super happy with the growth, especially for such a niche topic. As I was doing all that, and see, this is funny, CJ, you mentioned this, that there are numerous channels, because now I've got the podcast channel. That one's getting ready to get monetized, getting ready to cross the 1,000 subscriber mark. I've got a second channel with my brother called Live Streaming Tech. That's fully monetized. I'm working on building my fitness channel out, because for whatever reason, during the whole lockdown and such, a bunch of my review videos for fitness equipment took off on the channel. And so now I have half the watch time hours, and I've got 250 subscribers or something like that. So I'm looking at finishing out the year with about 4 to 5 fully monetized YouTube channels.
It's fantastic.
So Dale, on the self-publishing front, I've heard a lot of authors, like quite famous authors actually recently, telling and advising new authors to self-publish. Why do you think that is? And what do you think the future of self-publishing is going to look like?
Ooh, I love that second question. Make sure we come back to that one just a second here. Remember that one, because I know I'm going to rabbit trail on this one here. It used to be sexy and accepted for people to go after your traditional publishing deal. Because obviously you've got this trad pub company that's going to shower you with a, some type of an advance. You're going to get some money up front, like, yay. And possibly you worked out a deal that you can get some royalties for that. Yay. That type of a thing. But the problem is they're very selective. They're very selective about who they want and what they want to bring in. And it becomes harder and harder now more than ever as the world continues. The population grows. There's more authors. So now you're having stiff competition. The thing is with self-publishing, it's the path of least resistance. There are no gatekeepers. You can be able to carve out your own path without having to really be accepted by somebody. The only people you need to worry about being accepted by is your readership. So to me, I think that why people are going towards self-publishing, it's just easier. It's much easier. Now, not saying that doing self-publishing is easy, but you remove the gatekeeper of having to get into traditional publishing. The next thing is you're paid more. Historically speaking, and I'm sorry this is anecdotal, you guys can probably just Google this up, but historically speaking, most trad pub deals, authors are getting 10% or even less, sometimes to like 1% of all royalties. Okay, so that means they're getting like 1 cent out of every dollar or something like that, or 10 cents out of every dollar, which is just absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous to me to think that someone's paid that little. And then you look at it from a self-publishing standpoint, and we'll just point out KDP because it's the simplest one and it's the biggest dog in the room. So you get about 70% royalty on ebook. And the lowest you'll go is 35%, which is way better. Now, okay, I get it. Someone's going to probably, but Trad Pub, you get yourself some marketing and promotion. Yeah, if your name's Stephen King, you do. If you are a Joe Blow nobody, they're not going to be pumping a bunch of money into you. And if they do, it might be good for the next month to 2 months after launch. And after that, it's up to you to go ahead and take care of it. Most times, Trad Pub, they're looking for that diamond in the rough. So they're going to be throwing darts at a board until they find that bullseye. When they find that bullseye, guess what? That's the author they're going to be pouring all their time, energy, attention, and finances into. Most of the other ones, it's not going to happen. Okay, so that's why I believe self-publishing. Okay, so Chris, you asked the second question. I knew we had to double back around to.
That was what do you think the future of self-publishing looks like?
It's big right now. And I think everybody, if you're watching this right now, or you're listening to this in your ear holes, you're a pioneer in self-publishing. If you are right now publishing any type of a manuscript, applaud yourself, pat yourself on the back, because you're the pioneer of the modern day self-publishing model. No longer are we relegated to being the weird uncle with the pallet full of erotica books out inside his garage. Okay, we're no longer having to deal with that. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, that uncle, he's got the weird, like, you know, suede, like, you know, suit jacket, you know. So, but, you know, it's true. It's no longer this weird thing. And the future of self-publishing is bright, folks, because now we're at the beginning of something pretty marvelous. I actually was interviewing Hannah Jacobson from the company Book Award Pro. Would love to introduce you guys to them. But Hannah brought up something very interesting. Actually, one of the viewers who follows her brought up something, and then she mentioned, she's like, oh, yeah, you know, self-published authors are now eligible for Pulitzer Prizes? But what? And I'm like, wait, let's rewind that back. Did you just say a Pulitzer Prize for a self-published manuscript? She's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, get out. So this tells you that it's now starting to become a little bit more accepted that people are self-published, you know, and you don't have to look any further than some people who have been formally self-published that went to traditional, and some that went from traditional to self-published with no issue whatsoever. Everyone from the likes of, let's say, Andy Weir with The Martian, he went to a trad pub being self-published initially. And then you even have, oh, what's her name? The one who does 50 Shades of Grey. Her name eludes my. You get what I'm going with this. But either way,
E.L. James.
E.L. James, thank you. I knew it was like E something. I was going to say E.S. Lewis, and I was like, that's definitely not right. But you know, the business of self-publishing is changing so much. And so if you're on the fence right now and you're listening to this program and you're like, oh, I don't know if maybe it's too saturated. Anybody who tells you it's too saturated is pretty much trying to hog all the piece of the pie. They're like, don't get any of my pie. There's a lot of pie to go around. Get out there, start now, because we're on the edge of just something amazing.
Do you think, though, that, and Chris, you can answer this as well, that traditional publishing now, they must be worried about self-publishing, and their system of responding maybe in a few hours, in a few weeks, in a few months, a few years to people is a really, really outdated system. Do you think they're looking at things to update this and become more accessible now as a result of self-publishing taking off?
Go ahead, Chris. I was taking a deep breath here.
I think traditional publishers are going to go more and more the highbrow route, because I think that's probably the best way that they can try and keep that dream alive. So I think from what I'm seeing is they are putting a lot of money into certain books, like Dale said, and then I think they'll feed off of the success of those books. So they'll go, this is why you should do that, because you want to be the next this person. Look at what they've done. And, you know, as someone who reads both, you know, indie books and traditionally published books, I mean, some of them you can tell the difference massively, but more and more often than not, I'm seeing books where I'm like, if you told me it was traditionally published and self-published, I would not know the difference. And I think that's the scariest aspect for traditional publishers, as well as I'm seeing a lot of traditional published authors doing a lot of promotion off their own back, which is what indie authors are used to and are very good at doing as well. If you look at some of the indie authors that we've had on this show, you know, the book trailers they've got, their covers, their promotion, it's all top level. Like, you know, some traditional publishers should take note at what they're doing, because, you know, it's exceptional stuff. So I think traditional publishers will go highbrow and they'll go, we're better because of the successes that we've had.
Definitely. They're going to have to.
They've got that discretionary budget. And there's a lot of people that are, speculating where they're just kind of like, yeah, trad pub's going to go away. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's almost, and I'm sorry to keep leaning on something that I'm just very near and dear to me, which is pro wrestling. It's almost like saying the WWE is going to go out of business eventually because all the independents are doing really, really great. No, it's $1 billion company. It's going to be around for years to come. Same thing goes for trad pub. They're going to see what's working for self-publishing, and they're going to essentially adapt their model accordingly. So they're going to go, oh, that's working out for them? Okay, we do that too now.
Amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think with readership as well, like creating a fan base and a following. I know a lot of traditional publishers that I've been listening to on podcasts and stuff recently have talked about that. There's so many books out there, and they're all at sort of like really low prices, 99p deals, all this sort of stuff. They talk more about a followership of an author rather than, oh, this isn't the next Bloomsbury book, or this is the next Penguin book. It's the reaction that the author gets. And obviously, one of the ways they get that is through social media and through interaction with their readers and stuff like that. So I think that you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see more of authors than you've ever seen before in terms of different sides of them. I don't think it'll be a case of literally going and going, can you sign my book? I know nothing about you anymore. I think they'll be out there.
I've got one more question, Dale, before we move on to the second half. The second half of the show, by the way, if you're new to watching this, you can send questions in for us or Dale to answer, or hopefully more Dale. And so in the chat right now, send them in and we'll ask them in the second half. But Dale, one thing I just want to touch on before we move on, and this could really help a lot of authors that listen to this show, is that one of your recent videos, you touched on what to do if you were not selling on KDP. If you were just having a real dry spell, are there a couple of tips you can throw this way for people to pick up on?
If you find that book sales are slowing down or not happening whatsoever, there's typically like 3 culprits. And I always started out with the biggest barrier of entry being the book cover. If your book cover's trash, no one's going to buy it. Yes, people will literally judge your book by its cover. I see a lot of like people out there that every now and then, oh, but I never judge a book by its cover. I just buy it because it looks interesting. Yeah, that's good for you. The vast majority of people are doing this when they're going on their Kindle device. They're going, and if you're not able to stop the scroll, you have failed big time as an author. And so if you want to get it to where you're getting more book sales, get that book cover right. Now, having an attractive book cover is all well and good, but if it's not niche specific, remember, that's not going to stop the scroll. You're going to confuse your readers or your potential readers. So for instance, it wouldn't make much sense if I had a half-naked man on the front cover with some, frilly cursive font on here, and it would be the Amazon self-publisher. It wouldn't make any sense, right? It would confuse my readers. They'd probably scrolling through and they'd be like, that's not one of Dale's books. That wouldn't make sense. Conversely speaking, you don't want to see something that's heavy on typography that should be a Werebear Shapeshifter novel. It just doesn't compute. And I see often that some people put together some great-looking covers, but it's in the wrong niche. I mean, I've actually run into a number of people. I'm like, that's an amazing cover for this other niche. And they're kind of like, this is great. My girlfriend said it's awesome. Yeah, your girlfriend probably thinks you're pretty awesome too. But I'm going to tell you this, that's the wrong niche. You should do this. To know if you match any of the other covers, take your book cover. First thing is, snap a screenshot of the bestseller list on Amazon. Okay? Get the bestseller list of the niche that you're in.
Yeah.
Then take your cover, and I want you to put it into the number 1 spot. And you need to just take a step back and look at that and go, does this look right? Does this make sense that I would be at the number 1 spot? Because if it doesn't, your book cover's hit. Barrier of entry number 2, book description. If people aren't buying, let's say they see the book cover, they're not buying, the next barrier of entry is, are you enticing them? I call book descriptions ad copy for good reason, because you're trying to sell somebody something. So you got to entice those people. And the next barrier of entry, this kind of interchanges from day to day, but for me, mostly, I always tell people is have something worth reading. Get that manuscript dialed in, because here's the thing is if you build out a backlog of books and you're noticing people aren't going through and buying them, they buy one, but not the rest of them, then something's wrong with the content because you're not hooking them enough to go through and buy the rest of your stuff. So it's time that you take a step back and go, okay, what am I getting wrong? So book cover, ad copy, content.
Excellent. So thanks for that, Dale. What we'll do now is we'll move on to the second half of the show. But in the middle of this, what we like to do is something called the new family member. And for someone on Twitter, which is where we normally operate most of our content, we have a follower recently that follows us with a small following, and we give them a shout out and send them a GIF, a GIF. Yeah. And so you're the guest, Dale, so you can choose the GIF that we send them. So I'll play a little introduction video, and then we'll have a look at who we're sending this gift to. And in the meantime, if you have a little think of something that interests you, and it can be anything at all, whether it's an animal or a show, a series, or whatever you want, and then we'll get to it. So play this.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I'm sitting here jamming. I'm like, this is pretty badass, man.
I thought so, but then we timely interrupted Chris Hooley doing something.
I always pour a drink in this, man. So I'm going to carry on because I was halfway there, but I always see it as an opportunity to pour a drink.
In the shortest video of the whole show, you decide to pour it in there. It's great. Brilliant.
I expect it to last about a minute, and it's about 10 seconds.
Well, that's, not saying anything. Okay, so today's new family member is Josephine Greenland. And on Twitter, she's at Greenland_JM. She's a writer, a teacher, a literary taxidermy finalist.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
A Bumblebee Flash winner 2019, Female Fables winner 2018, debut novel Embers 18th of March 2021. So her debut book is out next month. She has 1,279 followers. So can we please either follow her and send her a GIF? Dale, what's your choice of GIF?
Ooh, let's go with something random.
Yes.
You're just typing up like in a GIF generator, right? Like
Absolutely,
a search. Yeah. Let's type in pizza tiger.
Pizza tiger. I love it. We've had some very, very random ones on this show. So pizza tiger, that's up there. It's a great one. Excellent. So when they're doing this, Dale, is there an author or a podcaster or a YouTuber, as you're kind of all of these three, that you would recommend for someone else to have a look at?
Brian Cohen, hands down. Fantastic. He does the Sell More Book Show podcast. He primarily does video over on Instagram because he doesn't touch YouTube whatsoever. But Brian Cohen just runs a solid ship.
Oh, fantastic. Do you think, is there a reason why he doesn't touch YouTube?
A lot of work.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. I think I talked to him the one time and he admitted that he was like, yeah, I'm just kind of lazy about that. But he's fantastic, though. The Sell More Book Show podcast is really good. I highly recommend it.
Fantastic. Cool. Chris, have you found her?
I have, and I've sent her a lovely GIF of a tiger playing, DJing. So
okay.
That's what came up when I put in Pizza Tiger.
What else? Was there anything fun? Pizza and tiger based?
No, it's a very niche GIF search.
Fantastic. Reference guys as well. The Writing Community Chat show would be nice.
I hate it when Twitter does that.
They get very confused otherwise. Okay, so Writing Community question time. Guys, if you've got questions, please do send them in. And I'm going to scroll back a second because there was one further along the chat that I wanted to ask. Oh, someone has asked what I thought was good. Okay. Someone says, I love Dale's blunt honesty. That's good.
I was blunt? What?
Okay, I'll find it. But the question was, who is your favorite wrestler? As you talking about wrestling?
This is not going to be a popular one for me to say. A lot of people are probably going to cringe on this one. This is a person that actually really inspired me, and it's going to shock a lot of people when I say Chris Benoit.
Okay.
I liked him as a wrestler. As a human being, he was a piece of crap, obviously. But as a wrestler, he was amazing. It was just one of those ones that he really inspired me. So you can imagine, if you don't know about Chris Benoit, just Google it up. Yeah. Very horrific ending to an amazing individual. But he was the one who inspired me to actually get into fitness. I watched him and I thought, man, I want to be just as awesome as that dude. Thankfully, I'm not to that level of awesome that he did.
Yeah. Jan, hello to you. I think you're too new to the show. Question: if a bad cover was the case, and in 3 months you don't have any sales, can you change the cover if you self-publish on Amazon?
Absolutely, Jan. Absolutely. I would say give it at least 3 months. Give it at least 3 months before you go change out the cover. But I would recommend that before you go and willy-nilly go and get another cover done, because obviously getting covers isn't cheap, or if you're making it yourself, it takes a lot of time. Create probably about 3 different cover iterations. And then I want you to poll your readership and poll some of your peers and see which ones are the best, and ask for open feedback. Like, hey, where are some areas that you think I can make this look better? Because one of the worst mistakes that you can do is go and create another cover, throw it back up there, and another 3 months later, you're going, well, there's no sales. And here you are, you're stuck with another cover iteration and not really sure where to go. So it's a good idea to poll your readership and find out what really, really works. And again, I already kind of gave a little tip, bestsellers list, put your cover on in there. Does it look like it fit with the others? Be real. Like, does it really look like it fits in with those other ones?
I mean, a good cover designer should give you, if you are paying for it, a couple of options anyway, right?
Yes. It's always a good idea to have a cover designer that has that flexibility, that they will give you at least 2 to 3 different cover iterations before you settle on the one.
Okay. And a good tip on that. I mean, obviously I'm not the guy for tips, but if you set a competition for cover designers to design you a cover and you set a brief, then you would have a hell of a lot more options, and then you obviously can just pay the best one. Yep.
It's also a great way to build hype as well. So if you're planning on doing like a relaunch of sorts, you can build some more hype. Like, hey, for whatever reason, this just kind of fell flat, and I decided I'm going to go ahead and launch a second edition of this book. Pick out the best cover iteration that you like, and you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. So, for instance, you may not be able to trust your grandma to pick out the best Werebear Shapeshifter cover. She might not know any better. Oh, that's cute. I like that man's abs. She may not know any better. Just know that whoever you poll, that you got to take it with a grain of salt and take a step back and go. But here's a great phrase that I try to share with people every now and then. And it kind of applies to reviews most importantly. But if one person says you're a horse, they're full of crap. If 5 people say that you're a horse, saddle up.
Yeah.
So that means enough people say it, you might want to pay attention to them.
Okay.
It's a good analogy, yeah. I heard a strange one this week. When the parrot's dead. Have you heard that before? No? It was on the news. Someone quoted "when the parrot's dead," and it was to mean, when the meaning's gone. But I was like, I've never heard that before. Strange one. Okay, so yeah, moving on. Joanne says, how much do you have to spend on ads on Amazon to make them work? Is it wise to spend on ads, sort of, and how much, if you're going to do it, should you look at doing?
This is such a loaded question. Honestly, there's not going to be a good answer for this. Some people can invest as much as, or as little as, say, $1 per day over the course of a month, and some people can invest somewhere from $10 to $100 per day. I would recommend is get yourself familiar with the system of Amazon advertising first before you start to put any expectations of like, oh, well, I'm going to spend $30 per day or $100 per day or something like that. You need to get to know the system first and then start to scale up as you start to understand the system better. I always recommend start low, scale slow. So this means like if you're doing Amazon ads, you're going to be doing like $1 per day to no more than $10 per day. Your cost per click is going to be embarrassingly low, 10 to 15 cents. I hear a lot of would-be experts and gurus that will say something completely different from what I'm saying. The reason why I say 10 to 15 cents is you're trying to go for the low-hanging fruit. You're going to find the automatic keywords if you do an automated targeting, or you're going to find the manual keywords or the products or categories at a lower bid. That way you go, oh, that's how this works. And then you can scale up accordingly. You're going to find that as you find what works and convert, say at 10 to 15 cents, then you can grab that, create a second version of that ad or a third version or a fourth version, and it's going to continue to stack as you find the things that are victorious. And at that point, that's when you can kind of take a step back and go, okay, I know that for every $1 I put in, I get $1 out. Or I know for every $1 I put in, I get $2 out or $3 out. At that point, that's when you can start to scale. So I'm sorry that I couldn't give a more exact, like, hey, do $100 per day. I usually just try to recommend if you've got the discretionary expense, start out about $5 to $10 per day. Cost per click, embarrassingly low.
I mean, sorry, Chris.
No, I was going to say, so Amazon is like a publisher in themselves. They take great pride in the fact that they are a publisher. They've opened bookstores themselves. They've got their own authors. So obviously, advertising for them, you're already, if you go into KDP, you're competing against Amazon already for that space and that area of promotion. So my question is, what would be your best advice to somebody who is in the KDP world for advertising? Is it through Amazon or is it in a different capacity?
If you're doing ads through Amazon, remember this: you're the customer. I know you're pushing your book towards their customers to buy it, but honestly, Amazon advertising, Amazon's thinking on this one. They're like, how can we make more money? Well, how about we just get these guys that have products on our platform to push ads so we can get it in front of their customers that they ideally want, and then we get to collect more money. Cha-ching, hooray! Amazon makes more money. It's the end of the day. You're still a customer. It's just the smart advertisers and the people that are wise with their money will learn the system so they know how to best leverage it, because Amazon's not trying to screw you out of money. Okay. When they make money, you make money. So in other words, when you sell something, you're going to get your money. They're going to get their money. And hey, if your ads take off, guess what? That means you're going to pour more into their ads. So they want to see this being mutually advantageous. So it's just getting to know that system before you jump into that head first. And I see far too many people. Like one time I coached a guy and he had a budget of like $1,000 per day. And he put his bids to like $5. I was like, whoa, dude, like, how much are your books? And he's like, oh, I'm just selling them like $9.99. I'm like, you have to like get a perfect, every time someone clicks, you're going to need to get someone to buy. Because if they're not, and I looked at his book and I'm like, brother, no. I'm like, we got to reel you back because you need the fundamentals first, because that's the thing is, you can pump all this money into it, but if your books hit, ain't matter how much money you put in there. Sure, every blind squirrel gets the nut, but that's a rare occasion. So you just gotta be very wise about it. So
it's all a learning process, right? I mean, people have to see what works for them in all of the aspects of this publishing world and then take that forward, I guess. So Dave said, if you're working on a limited budget, which a lot of people are, what should you prioritize when choosing what to pay for to improve your manuscript?
Ooh,
tough question.
Yeah, editing for sure, because you can have this beautiful book cover and this wonderful ad copy, but if someone gets into your manuscript and they start reading this and it's complete hammered garbage and it's crap, guess what they're going to do? First of all, A, they're not going to buy another book. B, they might get the refund for their book. And C, the worst case scenario, they're going to put up a review saying that you're the worst thing ever. And so you have to, I would say, if you have to put your money towards anything, editing for sure. Next in line is going to be things like book cover design, getting a copywriter for your book description, interior formatting, and then marketing and promotion. A lot of that obviously is going to come after, and I know he was just asking about the manuscript. So,
fantastic. Let's move on. Thank you for those questions, guys. Let's move on to some of our staple questions, Chris, because we missed a few of them, and we'll check some random ones in at the end.
Yeah. So Dale, obviously you write fiction and non-fiction, and one of our questions is if you could take any character and make that character your own. So any character from fiction, be it TV, film, books. And have a crack at them, which character would that be and why?
Have a crack at them? How do you mean?
Well, we discovered
get into like a fist fight.
Well, with Ali Reynolds came on the other week, and having a crack at them in Australia meant something completely different. So what we mean is having being able to write what you would like to do with it.
So putting them in a story, taking them in a novel, dropping them into something that you've already written, any of those things.
So you're saying maybe an already established character, putting it into a oh man, dude. There's some great ones. I mean, I'm a big comic book nerd, so my brain automatically goes over to anything within the MCU. Gosh. Whew. Man, this is a deep one. I've never actually thought about this. You know what? Actually, let's back that up here. Let's go over to Stephen King's Dark Tower series. Walter would be a fantastic one to put in. That would be an awesome one. I like antagonists. There's something about me that I really sometimes, and it's not that I'm, a sociopath by any stretch, but I don't know what it is. I like the bad guys. There's something that always resonates with me that I find like, but it would be neat to take this antagonist and put him into different stories. I mean, you even look at something like Stephen King's The Stand, The Walking Dude. You can probably be able to put him into just about any storyline as well. Gosh. But as far as how I do it, I'm sorry that I'd have to sit here and storyboard some ideas. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to, like, right at this point, like, for instance, I have a children's book. Be like, we're going to go ahead and put them inside this children's book. That'd probably be a little bit morbid, and I imagine the parents would probably be asking for a refund for their latest Grumpy Gus book.
Linda says, embrace the dark side.
Indeed.
Villains are delicious.
It is. That's a great way to put it.
And Joanne says Batman. So I can imagine Batman being in your kid's book, or even in your Amazon publishing books. Do this in the right way. But
right.
Yeah, fantastic.
So Dale, what is your kids' book about? Just out of interest, because you got it out and then didn't tell us anything about it.
Oh yeah. So the Grumpy Gus books. Actually, this is something that I've never spent too much time marketing and promoting. It actually started out as a small project I started over on Twitch to kind of use as an example to show people how to put together their own graphic design. So, for instance, like this entire book is done with GIMP. I use the free open source software, and I show people how to do the artwork and put together the stuff. So yeah, I've done this with GIMP, and I did it with PowerPoint. Threw it in there. Actually, Keynote was in, but either one, it's interchangeable, essentially like a slideshow, and you're able to like drop those elements in there. But I use it as an example book. So a lot of people sometimes look in and go, "Oh, you're not a very good children's book author. Look at your ranks." That's my sound of them sniffing their own farts, obviously. I honestly spend no time. I don't put any advertising dollars towards Grumpy Gus. This is just one of those projects. I'm like, well, if I'm going to make this stuff on here, I'm going to go ahead and publish it. But it's essentially like for kids between the ages of 3 to 6, simple rhyming schemes that are put in there, and small life lessons. I mean, things like, Grumpy Gus loses his shoes. It's essentially about retracing your path, like trying to find something that you thought you lost and you just essentially just left it somewhere. Grumpy Gus beats the blues. He's always sad when his friends aren't around, and it's about entertaining yourself when people aren't around. So I try to find those like small things, and I think to myself, like what I have wanted to have read as a kid, because I've always been a voracious reader, and it started out with Dr. Seuss books. So Grumpy Gus is almost like me being inspired by Dr. Seuss all these years later.
Do you have a favorite Dr. Seuss?
Green Eggs and Ham, hands down.
Yes. Great book.
See, I introduced my 2-year-old to the Grinch at Christmas. About 2 weeks before Christmas, I thought, it'd be really nice to read the Grinch. We've not stopped reading the Grinch, and we watch the Grinch every day. So I'm slightly worried about bringing in the other books.
Yeah. I mean, I can certainly relate to your book, Dale. I mean, the last time I was out for a big walk and looked down and my shoes weren't there, it was really confusing.
Yes.
But, yeah. So one other question along the same lines, and if you could change the ending to any book, and we'll open this up to film and TV as well, changing the ending to anything, what would you change and why?
Oh, man. This is tough to really point out because I like so many things, so many stories and so many books. I almost would never change anything. I like, it's almost like going to an art gallery and you see a painting, and what I might be able to decipher as something what it means to me might mean completely different to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I've always been kind of like the person that enjoys the craft of writing, looking at someone's work and saying, that's great, that's finished. I don't know that I've ever been the type of person that goes, well, that should have been different. Like, no, then it's a completely different journey, and it's going to create a different type of emotion. So yeah, it's tough. I hate to like bail on you on that one, but I don't think I can be able to think of any off the top of my head. If you would have like sent it to me about a week ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, all right, I would change this one, this one for sure. Like, no, it's so tough to go in and go, well, I'm going to change a couple paint strokes inside this Picasso because, Picasso didn't know what he was doing.
Look out for a tweet from Dale this afternoon or this evening with his answer. Halo says kill Potter, and it's something that Chris started a few weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely.
The end of Potter.
Killing Harry Potter would have made it so much better. Like, just the film alone, like when they've all got those weird porno tashes and stuff. Like, they're older, but they're really not. Like, that would have been so much better. So the final question, Dale, is it's a bit of a morbid one, but you're on your deathbed, you're looking back at your writing career. What does success look like to you?
Like it does right now. I'm not the type of person that wants to do Lamborghinis or have my own private jet. That's just stuff that just doesn't resonate with me. I don't see fancy cars and go, ooh, wow, that's loud. I love that when my ears are blistering and bleeding here from hearing that. No. And I don't think about having like some pad out in the middle of Bali, that's overlooking like millionaires' mansions and things like that. That's not the type of stuff. Me, I'm a simple guy. I enjoy being able to live life on my own terms, being able to eat the food that I want to eat, being able to lay on the couch and snuggle with my cat if I want to. So to me, looking back and being successful, I think to me is just this life that I'm currently living. I think I'll feel more fulfilled if I can have and educate enough people to do the same thing. So if anything, I think my vision of success is going to continue to evolve. And now it's one of those cases that I want to take more people along for the ride. I want them to realize that you don't have to chase a 9-to-5 job or a traditional publishing deal in order to be a successful author. And you don't have to believe and feel ashamed that if you, for instance, only make $1,000 per month or less, that you're a failure as an author. No. You're successful only as you determine yourself to be. And I'm hoping that I can be able to inspire and motivate more people as they go along.
It's a fantastic answer, Dale. Just one point there. Yeah, it's good. Just one point here. Anyone on Twitter or listening or watching this show back or right now, if you tag the writing show and you tag Dale, what's your Twitter name, Dale?
Self-Pub with Dale.
Self-Pub with Dale. Tag us too and drop the name of a cat in there. And if any of you guesses the right name of the cat, we'll buy your ebook. A little competition for you there. Get guessing, get tagging. Great message on the Twitter, on the messages. Sorry, it is great message. So, really important question, Dale. Yeah. Pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
Yes.
Way in the yes camp.
Yes. I'm not much of a fan for ham, but you can throw pineapple on top of it. I'm good. Yeah. I'm not one of those type of people like, this is garbage. It's trash. I've had worse things on pizza. I had a friend of mine who put ice cream on top of pizza, and he's like, you got to try this. And I tried ice cream on the pizza, and I was like, this is a mess. And my tongue says no. I like ice cream. I like pizza. Together, it doesn't make sense.
It sounds like my teeth would not enjoy that. No. Pineapple Alliance. Yes.
Definitely. I mean, I would wear a t-shirt that said I'm not a fan of that.
Do you know what? I'll make you that t-shirt, Chris. I'll do it. Yeah. Dale, are you into Star Wars?
Absolutely, yes.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh, dude, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with Star Trek.
Ooh,
I'm gonna have to go with Star Trek. Yeah, because I was a big fan growing up of William Shatner, of course. But The Next Generation was my jam right there, man. Because obviously, anybody that grew up around the time I did, you watched Reading Rainbow. And so when you saw LeVar Burton over on Star Trek, I was like, instantly, that's it. I was like, this is my favorite show of all time.
Amazing. So jumping on to Star Wars, you're up to date with Star Wars, right? You've seen them?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, so, yeah. There's no spoiling it for me.
Okay. So who would you consider a better baddie? As you said, you like them. Kylo Ren or Darth Maul?
Oh, Kylo, for sure.
Yes!
I thought he has more of a human like element to him, and you were able to connect with him more. Darth Maul was like around for like one episode, and it's like I didn't have time to like really like him, and then before you know, he's cut in half
because he was rubbish, right? All right, Chris, you just nailed my answer. You know,
Kylo Ren is a child. Like you're a fan of a child. Like
he's a complex character, and what's Darth Maul? Right. Stupid face.
He has the complexity of a pint of milk. Like, he's rubbish. At least Darth Maul had stunts. Like he had a dual lightsaber. Nobody else had one of those.
Hey, that was a cool lightsaber.
It was, but you only had it for 5 minutes. I mean,
right.
That's all you need. 5 minutes of fame. Like I'd rather if Kylo Ren would have been 5 minutes, he'd have been like bearable. But
hang
wasn't.
on. Who out of One Direction do you know now? Do you remember?
Do I know personally or remember?
No, do you remember?
All of them, of course.
No, you don't. You know Harry Styles.
Yeah,
he's the only one still around, and you don't know the rest of them.
Harry Styles, Zayn Malik.
I'll stop you there. Don't embarrass yourself. It's fine.
No, Niall. They've all done solo singles and solo albums, which are.
You've impressed me with that knowledge, Chris. You have.
I'm impressed as well. I couldn't have been able to tell you a single name from One Direction.
No.
Sorry, people are going to be like, boomer.
This normally applies to more a British audience, but the Beatles or Elvis?
That's a tough one because both of them were like bands my mom got into growing up, or musicians, I should say. I'm going to say Beatles only because there are some more tracks that I typically will get stuck in my head. Elvis never gets stuck in my head.
Yeah. Michael Jackson or Prince, one Chris came up with?
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Tough. Very tough.
Dude, like 8-year-old me is fighting right now because I love both musicians. But from a standpoint of the fact that he was just badass, no matter how you shook it, Prince. He changed his name to a symbol, for crying out loud. To a symbol. Like, honestly, like when he did that, okay. So, I'm going to go Prince all the way.
Yeah, definitely. Are you into TVs and film? TV shows?
Semi. If you ask me about any recent ones, I'm lost at this point.
If you had a movie made about your life at some point, who would you choose? Would there be someone you would choose to play you?
Yes. If I were to choose an actor to play me,
yeah.
Danny DeVito. How funny would it be to see a person that's 5 foot tall playing a part of a 6'2" person? So
it's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great answer.
That'd be brilliant. And he's a great actor despite his height disadvantage.
Yep. It'd just be awesome. I mean, Danny DeVito, is there nobody? If we're gonna go to another extreme, that's it. Screw it. Give me The Rock. We're just gonna go The Rock. So that way, it's so ridiculous. It's like he's gonna be so jacked for the role.
Well, you know that's your wrestling actor right there. You know.
Yeah.
For when you had your wrestling sort of diversion, before your writing and job done.
Yep. I'd love to see Dwayne Johnson with like just both of those books that you've got in the background in his hand. Just like, you can do it, man.
Right. Probably one of these books, it'll probably end up getting swallowed by his gigantic mitts.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Dale, we are literally pretty much out of time. And before we do shoot off, where can people find out about your work, about your YouTube? Is there somewhere they can go and find out that information?
It's simple. Selfpublishingwithdale.com. Again, that's selfpublishingwithdale.com. You'll find out everywhere that I'm at: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I'm on it.
Everywhere. Go and find Dale, especially on YouTube. Honestly, those videos have helped me massively. They will help you too, so go and find them out. Thank you for coming on the show, Dale.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for Steve for sponsoring the show with your book. Please, guys, check out that book. It's fantastic. It's got the amazing reviews and the awards for a reason. Please check it out because the sponsors help the show, and we like to support the authors that help the show. So thank you so much for all of you, your questions on the podcast. If you're listening back, thank you guys, and we will see you on Friday for another great guest. Look out for that tomorrow. We'll tweet that. Dale, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have on you in the show, and we will see you very soon. Guys, thank you. Look after yourselves. Stay safe.
Thanks, Dale.
Bye.